So let's jump right into it. So first of all, how did we get into this situation? What are the main issues separating the NFL and the referees from reaching an agreement?
Well, obviously it's different because the money is a lot smaller, but in some ways it's very similar to the player problem of last year. There's something called a collective bargaining agreement, and that is the governing document between management and labor. And last year, the management was the NFL, the labor was the players. This year, it's the same management, the NFL, and the labor is the referees. They have a union. They entered into an agreement with the NFL. That agreement expired, I believe, sometime in the summer. And when it expired, the NFL tried to negotiate, or they say they tried to negotiate, and they got nowhere, so they used a labor tool, which is called a lockout, basically saying, okay, you don't want to do our deal, we're going to not let you come and referee these games, we're not going to pay you while we're negotiating with you. And basically they decided to hire replacement referees. And again, all of this is about leverage in negotiations, trying to get a better deal out of these referees by replacing them, at least for the short term, and seeing if they can pay them exactly what they want rather than what the referees want.
Right, and you mentioned that this is over considerably less money than the player lockout last year. Only the NFL's chief attorney sent a memo to the teams. It's about $4 million that they're debating over. Why would the NFL be disinclined to settle this in a $9 billion industry?
Yeah, and I get that question a lot, Zack. It's really, you talk about $9 billion, and they're fighting over $4 million a year, which is a 7-year deal, probably a little less than $30 million. I guess when I ask them that question, they say, well, why don't you ask the other side that question? Because there, you can look at this in different ways. You can look at why won't they get some change of $9 billion, or you can look at it as, hey, these real referees have jobs, and they're turning down part-time jobs anywhere from $120,000 to $200,000, and what they've been offered is fair. So I try not to take sides. I try to look at the issues. But more importantly, I look at the reality. And I think the reality is the referees are in a tough spot because they have people doing their jobs right now. And we can debate for hours whether the people doing their jobs are doing terrible, okay, decent, or really well. But the fact is the NFL seems to be happy with them. And if the NFL is happy with them, that's all that matters. And the referees are in a tough spot in terms of this negotiation at the end of week 2.
Right, now you mentioned, that it's really the NFL's decision if they're happy with them. Do you think they're listening to any of this public backlash about the replacement referees?
I think they aren't, except if they're something egregious. There were a couple calls, I think a lot of people focus on what happened in Seattle with the extra timeout, or what happened in Green Bay with a couple off calls. But that's 2 or 3 calls out of hundreds last weekend. And I think the general feeling is these guys did pretty well. And the NFL is, they're doing it for negotiation purposes, but they also, I think, truly believe these guys are getting better every week. And as long as they're getting better, they have the leverage in this negotiation, and you've got to wonder what's going on in the minds of these officials.
Right, absolutely. And, we also, I guess, have to wonder what's going on in the mind of Roger Goodell. How much is this a decision for him as opposed to the NFL in general?
Well, the owners make the call ultimately. He's the spokesman for the owners, and he's the, CEO of the owners in telling them what he thinks. But I sense that the owners have taken a personal position in this, basically saying, who are these guys, and who do they think they are, these refs, to hold out, basically. Well, I think it's become personal. I don't know which owners, but I think some of the owners feel like you take a hardline position because these guys got no option.
Right, and I think, a lot of people with the Saints bounty appeal coming out are thinking that, Roger Goodell might be taking that a little bit personally, his power, kind of override it. Do you think that will have any effect on these negotiations?
You mean the power of Goodell?
Well, I'm just thinking that Goodell might feel a little bit undercut, by by the Saints situation and maybe would want to wield his power in this arena now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're two separate tracks, but I can see what you're saying about intertwined at some level because these are the two big off-field issues going on at the same time.
Right.
I think the goal for Russia's travel is to have everyone talk about the game.
Yeah.
And not talk about this stuff. And we hopefully are moving towards some kind of resolution on the bounties with meetings scheduled for next week. Now, I don't believe we're going to have the meetings until I actually see them because they've been talking about meetings before. But that seems to be moving somewhat of a track. And, I think the referees, listen, I've been wrong. I thought they'd be back week 1. I'm guessing week 3 right now. I'm guessing they'll be back for week 3.
Okay. And, for a lot of us fans out there, we didn't even know that this was a possibility. As someone in the know, how early on did you think that this referee lockout was a real possibility?
I saw it in the middle part of last season where there was a note that I didn't even know until I found it in one of the things I was reading that we're in agreement with the scenario. And, it's hard to, if you're negotiating on behalf of the referees, what are you trying to do? And I guess what you're trying to do is at the least keep what you got. And what they had was a pretty good deal negotiated 6 years ago in 2006. The NFL basically says, no, you're not going to have that deal anymore. So they're just fighting an uphill battle trying to play goalie, keep what they have, and frankly, they're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and so, the longer this goes on, do you think it makes it more or less likely that a resolution, comes forth?
I'm going to say more likely, but that's assuming the referees, not too strong a word, but cave in.
Right.
And if they don't, it'll go a long time. I mean, if they are resolute about what they want.
So the only way you really see this ending is the referees caving.
Yeah, I think caving's a little strong. I think, to put it this way, the referee's coming a lot closer to the owner's position than vice versa. I don't see this ending where if there's a middle point, the owners cross that line to get to the referee's position. I do not see anything like that.
Right. So a lot of interesting news. Thanks so much for joining us, Andrew. Don't forget followers that you can follow him on Twitter at @ADBrandt. Thanks again, Andrew.
Always a pleasure, Zach. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.